Sounds peaceful, doesn't it? This is called white noise. It sounds as though it comes out of your AC or cooler, and maybe it does. I don't know where they produce this noise. It's quite a soothing sound, just the continuity of stillness that keeps on moving. And it's just like you, scrolling on your phones and your computers, sitting still, and your brain having so much fun releasing all this dopamine, all thanks to this white noise you've created. What does white noise metamorphically mean here? Copium. And what is copium? Everything. Everything in life is copium. Eating, sleeping, working, watching this video, making this video, playing Roblox, playing Fortnite, lick smacking, doom scrolling Instagram, alcohol, smoking, pornography, going to the gym, watching Netflix, going for a run, everything is copium. You clicked on this video most likely because you hope that it will entertain you and you hope that you will learn about copium. You hope that it will bring you value. Look, copium is nothing but an escape from your mind. It is a way to seek pleasure, a way to receive gratification from all sorts of things. In common trend, indulging in gaming, watching TV shows, smoking substances, or consumption of alcohol are all considered copium, and rightfully so. These activities are pleasurable in a sense that they will make you happy, yet are detrimental when compounded over a period of time. But why do I call it an escape from our mind? I don't want to belittle our species, but we are a doomed animal. Our strongest weapon on this planet that has made so much shit happen is our own brain. A brain filled with thoughts such as, or thoughts like, thoughts are just a common daily occurrence. On average, we have 70,000 thoughts come to our mind, some addressed and some dismissed.
Oh man, should I eat this? I wonder when I can get home and watch some Netflix.
Well, these may not seem tough thoughts to deal with, but then there's other types of confrontational thoughts that totally try to ruin your moment.
How is this job hunt thing gonna work out? How will I make more money this year? How can I become like the rest of the guys?
It's extremely uncomfortable to face such thoughts when you can't provide a definite answer. It's like, I could do this, but... Your mind is stressed out at this moment because you have been reminded of a course of action that needs to be taken, yet you're unwilling to take it. And this isn't uncommon practice either. Unless we are especially abled David Goggins, we all procrastinate and wonder if we'll be alright in the future, hoping that we will be. But then, how do you make these uncomfortable thoughts go away? Create white noise. Cope. It'll distract your mind from the thoughts for a good amount of time. You may need to create this white noise over and over again, sometimes to not stay unhappy for a couple of hours. By the way, not being unhappy is also still being happy. It's more so that you're happy about the fact that you aren't unhappy, and that too can make you happy. Now, coping isn't bad. It is, by definition, to deal with an issue effectively. But our generation has used the word more as a slang term to describe someone in denial of their situation, seeking a false sense of happiness. As we have been told often, everything is fine when done in balance. This is absolutely correct in every regard. The point of coping is to turn up the noise and try to seek pleasure because you're afraid of facing the reality. It could be that you dislike your job because it doesn't bring you contentment, but have to do it anyway so you are able to pay the bills. It could be that you hate school because of how it makes you feel bored and you can't seem to grasp anything you're taught but have to do it anyway and not drop out. Maybe you would argue that video games, alcohol, cigarettes, or any coping article alike relieves you of stress and it helps you recover from a long day of work. And you're right, like I said earlier, everything in a balance is fine. However, that's one part of the story. This video is aimed specifically at those who are overindulging in cope. I'm talking about you, buddy. White noise is, simply put, white noise. Think about it like this. Do you really feel inadequacy or cowardice or timidity while coping? You don't. When you're really invested in cope, your feelings and thoughts leave you alone because you're filled with the triumph and pleasure of coping. When I'm doom scrolling on my phone or training at the gym, the peak of my shortcomings and worries never infiltrate my thoughts. They're kept aside because there's no time to think about it right now. Right now, I'm too focused on the hilarious cat reel on my screen, and I'm too focused on trying to get in more reps of my exercise. I am, at that moment, visiting a softcore nirvana, a state of mind that makes it hard for confrontational thoughts to RKO you out of nowhere. It is pleasant, it is peaceful, and it is my favorite place to be in, you guys. And that's the sole reason why you cope so hard. There are two types of cope. Detrimental cope, the one where you slack all day, doom scroll, reels and TikTok and order food from outside and get no real work done, etc. And beneficial cope, the one where you address the problem and fix it, Do the things that will eventually lead you to overcoming your issues with productivity or just other self-actualization goals. It can be anything from wanting to get consistent at working out or to do the side hustle that you always wish to do. Knowing that you've coped either way to tackle those thoughts is enough to create white noise that makes you happy. And this time when it compounds, it will either detriment you or benefit you. Coping either way is a difficult task. I mean, consistently coping either way. Hence why you have the subtle urges of motivation hitting you when you decide to put your cope away and do the work. But then when you're constantly doing the work, you feel sore and decide that it's time to skip the work and get on Roblox because you could really use some happiness right now. I'm a victim, but you can't stick with the victim mentality. It's not sustainable and it'll never get you out of the hole. Beneficial coping requires the mastery of delaying gratification. And again, in the end, there's no promise of a reward, since it's never about the destination but the journey to the destination. I've broken down and set clear boundaries as to what is beneficial for you and what is detrimental for you. And now, if I were to give you a choice, how would you like to cope? Most of you would say you'd like to beneficial cope. Congrats, it's going to be hard. But if you choose to keep indulging in detrimental coping, congrats is also going to be hard. You just can't seem to get it out of your head, can you? As a consumer of the world, you yearn for more and more. To be this and to be that, and it's not your fault either. You were raised this way. With all the movies that you've watched, you're polarized by the idyllic character from the movie that doesn't succumb to defeat. They go on and win. You also yearn for more than your detrimental coping because, get this right, it was never about coping. It was all about creating enough white noise so you deal with your unpleasant thoughts in some way. The transition to beneficial coping is just one act away, and you know very well what act it should be. Be it getting out of your bed and getting some exercise, showering, or exiting Valorant or putting down your phone. Both ways that coping goes, there's also a middle place, and that's kind of repetitive until you decide to commit to one thing, or 80-20% that thing. I call this Copium Ultima. Stay away from this place. It's like a Sisyphus paradox. All your coping amounts to absolutely nothing. It's like the most detrimental place to be in. Even worse than the detrimental cope cycle. So, this place consists of a 50-50 balance of coping, negating any progress in any direction altogether. This is just an absolute waste of life, and I highly advise that you always be aware that you don't end up here. An example would be going to the gym to lose weight and exercising hard, but then you come back and order a bucket of KFC. Bruh. So, if 50-50 coping both ways doesn't work, then what's the sustainable solution? 80-20. 80% of work and 20% of pleasure. We're not especially able David Goggins. We can't look past our own comfort cycle. We are designed like this. So some things like working, exercising or anything, it may be a bit difficult or unpleasurable or it must totally suck. Well, it is what it is. You know you chose to cope that way, so you know it's going to motivate you to seek 20% of the reward by playing your favorite game or watching a film or a TV show or eating your favorite food. It's not all about suffering. And the special thing about this is that once you cross a threshold, your 20% detrimental cope is progressively going to reduce to be a single digit number as you seek and find more pleasure in your work. And if you've stuck your head into this topic, I'm not against coping here. I encourage coping. It's not a bad thing. However, I am pivoting you to cope beneficially because copium is an indestructible and never-ending phenomena. It can't be destroyed, but it can be replaced with a better cope, and that's exactly what we're doing. If you're like me, you love to cope. I'm the biggest coper there ever lived. But here's the thing, guys. You wouldn't know what you think unless you really sit in solitude without your white noise and actually think. You wouldn't really know how cold it is until you take off that blanket and get out of bed. But we'd rather stay in bed, and that's the problem. We scour the best TikToks and personalities and videos for motivation, but it's not as effective as your own mind. Don't belittle its intelligence. It's very smart and you just don't know it because you're dumb. You what? But go for walks, sit in silence, stare at walls and stare at the night sky. Retrospect about your past, introspect about your present and the future. Yes, I agree, it's a really scary and horrible place to be in, but that's the only way to grow, and it's not even that hard. Like, what are you, scared of your thoughts? Embrace the solitude. It may make you cry and it may make you laugh. Whatever it is, to talk to yourself in the head. This is probably the only time that you stop coping, is when you start thinking. So, in the end, all I want to say is, cope harder.